Thank you, Royal. We have a little snow on the ground, and for some reason that automatically makes me think of the chestnuts roasting on an open fire, Mel. Good morning.
Good morning.
How are you?
I'm fine. How are you?
Real good. We talked, but it's been a while ago. I can't remember where you were at that time. Either in Chicago or at the Playboy Club, one of the two.
Mm-hmm.
But nowadays you're at the Blue Max at the Hyatt Regency O'Hare.
Well, nowadays means just through Saturday night.
Yeah, but you're earlier than you were supposed to be, though.
What do you mean by that?
I think they didn't have somebody else. I think they had the Unknown comic scheduled, and you came in early or something because he didn't make it.
No, as a matter of fact, in complete candor, I just closed 3 nights with the Pittsburgh Symphony, which was a marvelous, marvelous experience, Ken. And I'm on my way to New York to do the Man of the Year Awards. I'm the performer this year for the Man of the Year Awards at the Waldorf Astoria on the 5th of March. And I had 5 days open, and apparently the unknown comic, whoever he is, had to cancel or got sick or something. And they put in a rapid call and asked if I was available. And incredibly, just these 5 days, I had the time to come in.
Well, it worked out fine. I know the list that I have of people coming to the Blue Max is pretty old by now. It came out several months ago, so it's hard to tell what kind of planning happened between then and now. It's good to be talking with you, though.
Thank you.
I think the last time we talked, you were talking about doing some writing. Weren't you working on a book?
Yeah. Well, that book is very, very much finished and out on the market, not only in hardback, but in paperback. And I am, at this very moment, I mean, even here in my suite at the Blue Max, I'm in the process of writing a treatment. I've written half of it already, and that's been turned in. And I'm working on the other half of a treatment screen treatment, for my book, Winner.
Boy, you know, see, I would really be lying if I told you I read it, Mel. It's a fine book. But I wasn't aware it was out yet. I'm going to have to look it up.
Well, Ken, I would be lying if I said, I don't know where you were those 2 weeks, but the weeks that I came out, when I say came out, I traveled the country, and by the way, I was here in town, as well as Philadelphia. Oh, listen, I don't want to go through the cities. I'll bore you and your listeners. But I did every major show imaginable, plugging the book, from Griffin to the Today Show, the Tomorrow Show, the Tonight Show, a half hour with Dick Cavett. So I have a feeling you were out of the country.
Well, I'm in the communication business, and obviously I'm on top of everything.
I noticed.
Oh, goodness. Well, I will have to try to track down a copy. I don't get to watch all that much television, believe it or not, but it seems like if you can get some good spots on some good television shows, just about everybody but people in radio find out about things.
Well, I think it is very good. I think it's wonderful for anybody plugging anything, whether it be an engagement or a book or a new record or whatever, that TV offers a kind of outlet, a forum, exposure for whatever you're doing. I think it's terrific.
Mm-hmm. We talked just a little bit about how it is to go on night after night, and I have been fighting a cold, and I know I haven't felt myself probably for the last month, and I just wondered if I was ever going to shake this thing. Singers have to fear that too, don't they?
Oh, yeah, sure.
Do you ever find out that you work so hard and you think you've done a good show, and then maybe you can listen to a taping or something of it, and you're never really satisfied with it?
Well, I've never been satisfied with any performance I've ever given in the many, many years that I've been plying my trade. And so I don't even have to worry about that, because I've never, ever walked off a stage, this is on the level, and never said, by George, that was a hell of a show. I just have never felt that way, and I don't think I'll ever feel that way. There's always some kind of flaw in the performance that disgusts a performer who strives to be as close to good, or if you want to use the word perfect, as you can possibly be.
I wonder, like things that are really considered classic, like maybe a Chaplin film, like The Gold Rush, or be it motion pictures or be it recordings, when people point at something and say, that is a classic, that is perfect, you really wonder what does go through the person's mind that made it and said, no, that's not exactly what I wanted it to do, but I'll take your word for it.
Well, you brought up a very, very good point, Ken. Very interesting. You see, it's all subjective. By that I mean that if an audience looks at The Gold Rush or Modern Times, using Chaplin as an example, and say, that is an absolutely perfect film. Perfect. It really, I suppose, doesn't matter that Chaplin probably walked away from it, as all great artists do, and looked at it in the first or second or third or fifth screening and said, boy, I wish I could just go and shoot that again, or I'd like to do the whole movie again. It's wildly imperfect, because we're not really working for ourselves. And if I may, since you brought it up, if I may use myself as an example, I have walked off many, many stages, many, many nights wanting to kick a chair or a dog or a kid or something because I felt that my performance was way, way, way below standards. And I will walk through the stage door, and there'll be 25, 30 people waiting, saying, hey, that's the best performance we've seen in this place for 2 years, you know.
Mm-hmm.
So it really becomes subjective. I mean, I know in my heart of heart the bad flaws that existed during that specific performance, but if people are there and are willing to either forgive those flaws or really kind of ignore them or don't even, as a matter of fact, are not conscious of them, that's really what it's all about. You're there to please them.
And you really can't say, no, it was a lousy show, because then you're insulting their intelligence. That's
exactly right. So I accept it very quietly, and I hope very graciously and gratefully and gracefully, and go from there. Try again the next night.
Yeah. Well, I've seen you perform badly every night that I've seen.
Of course.
No, I'm only kidding.
You're the one single perceptive person in this country.
No, I'm only kidding. It's funny how musical tastes change, you know, like just from telephone calls that we get from people asking for certain types of music. I played one of your records this morning, and some lady called in and said, hey, what was that? That was really great. And I'll tell you what it was. I played Let's Call the Whole Thing Off, which is from an old album that's been released again.
Yeah, reissued, yeah.
The Gershwin tune. And so it's obviously an old song, a classic, really. And somebody had called in and wanted to know about it. And asked who it was. I said, well, nice. Mel Tormé, who we're going to have on later this morning. It's 18 minutes in front of 12 noon. Let me play for a commercial or two. We'll get right back, if it's okay with you, Mel.
Okay.
Mel Tormé's at the Blue Max these days.
All right. I want you to get out there and hit those smart weeds, gouge those cocklebur, roll over those velvet leaf.
What are you doing?
Oh, hi there. Well, you caught me talking to the team here.
Team? All I see is a lot of Banville herbicide and a number of other herbicides. Lasso, Sutan Plus, Dual, Blade X.
Well, that's the team. Banville and its new teammates. Now I can use Banville in more tank mixes and overlay programs than ever before.
Say, that sounds like a pretty powerful team.
Sure is. Once Banville and its teammates hit the field, there's hardly any opposition left to finish the game.
Well, I can help you there. I know this guy who has a team of trained caterpillars.
Trained caterpillars?
Yeah. I hear they just crawl all over their opponents. You get it?
Yes, I get it.
Crawl.
Let your Ag Chem dealer show you how Banville and its new herbicide teammates can tackle your toughest cornweed problems. Banville herbicide from Velsicol. Velsicol reminds you, before using any pesticide, read the label.
What the whirly? What are you doing in there?
Well, I had my little laboratory set up, and I was testing this Acco grain sorghum to see why some of it's so resistant to diseases and green bugs and even birds.
Well, you don't need to know why something works. Just know it works.
I have a scientific mind, and I must know.
You don't have any mind, and I do know.
I bet there's cats in there.
Look, all you need to know is the facts, and Acco's new performance update gives you all the facts.
Performance update? That's a nice book. Where'd you get that?
I got it free at my Acco dealer.
Oh.
Acco's a company with good seed and a lot more, and that's one of your lot mores.
What about science, though?
Well, you talk about science. Acco's got a complete research and testing facility for sorghum. They don't need you, and they don't make a mess either.
I'm on the verge of a breakthrough here.
I'm on the verge of a breakdown. What's this thing bubbling over here?
Oh, don't touch that, Ray.
Here, look how it's bubbling.
Well, don't touch it, Ray, baby!
No! Ow, ow, ow! Ooh-wee. What's in that?
Coffee.
See Gary Jacobs in Aerosmith.
We're back with Mel Tormé at 15 in front of 12 noon. Like I say, these albums are some of my favorites. The Mel Tormé Loves Fred Astaire and the Mel Tormé Touch, and they are really good. I would guess, and maybe you'll argue with this, but I would say that your style has changed slightly since these days, maybe even more than slightly.
Yeah, maybe you're right. I think that the fact that those are very old albums, I would like to think that it's changed because I don't like to sit still, but it isn't a conscious change. I mean, I don't listen to, for instance, other singers and say, well, gee, that's what's in now. I better start singing that way, because that's a fraud. I mean, you really should be yourself. But I am influenced by a whale of a lot of singers whom I appreciate and enjoy and admire. Mm-hmm. And it may be infinitesimal, but the whole, the conglomerate influence all around probably alters my singing style from, if not year to year, decade to decade.
You know, you just raised an interesting point. I just wondered a few years ago, in fact more than a few years ago, but before the big influence of radio and television, when you had musicians doing their own thing in their own locality, when they ever got together and heard what other musicians were doing, it must have been very, very exciting.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. I mean, we are all eclectic. There are very few incredible originals. I mean, Duke Ellington was an original from a standpoint of creating the kind of music, the kind of arrangements, the kind of sound in his orchestra that nobody else had up to then. But that is inordinately rare, and consequently, we do subconsciously, unconsciously borrow or glean, let's say, the good things from the people we admire. I mean, I absolutely have been admiring Ella Fitzgerald since I can remember, and certainly some of my singing reflects her influence on me.
Mm-hmm. What are you doing nowadays for people who are going to go to see at the Blue Max?
You mean in the act?
Yeah.
Oh, well, I'm doing a tribute to Johnny Mercer with a bravura, marvelous arrangement of Blues in the Night, a concert arrangement that was written by Marty Paich. I did not write that arrangement. It was Marty Paich's work, and superb work. And I'm doing Eric Carmen's Boats Against the Current, which is a brand new, contemporary, wonderful song by Eric Carmen, who's a fine young current sort of hero among the young people with his singing and his songwriting. And really just about something for everyone. I don't really like to sort of run the show down because that leaves no surprises for anybody that might want to come. I'll be here through Saturday night, as you know, and the turnout has been marvelous. So I hope you don't mind, Ken, if I do a little commercial.
No, in fact,
I'm also going to be back in my hometown of Chicago on, I can't remember the exact date. I think it might be well, maybe middle May at Park West in 2 separate concerts with Buddy Rich and his orchestra.
That is going to be some show.
Well, but believe me when I tell you, and I'm not trying to lure people into the Blue Max. It's a totally different kind of performance. Anybody that likes Buddy, and I hope that I've got a lot of followers in my hometown, would, I think, find tremendous disparity between what I do here at the Blue Max and what I'm going to be doing in concert with Buddy Rich. So if anybody thought, well, I won't go see him at the Blue Max because he's going to be here in concert in May, you'll be seeing a totally different kind of performance, certainly all different tunes and, just a different approach to what I do on the stage.
Plus, every night is different, of course.
From the standpoint of the Blue Max, every night is different because, the audiences sometimes dictate that. They're fun-loving audiences at the Blue Max. It's a ball. You walk out on the stage, and you never know whether some gal at the front row is not going to heckle you, because I don't get hecklers, but going to be mock swooning or whatever, and you have fun with that. I bounce off of that, so that there's something a little bit different every single night at the Blue Max. As a matter of fact, really, the performances with Buddy Rich at Park West will be a little more structured.
Mel, it's been a lot of fun talking with you again. I look forward to doing it again in the future sometime. The best to you, and we hope a lot of people show up at the Blue Max
Well, they've been doing it so far. Just keep coming.
Take you in. Mel Tormé, thank you.
Thank you.